Good afternoon, everybody. It's our first meeting since July, so want to welcome everybody back. Welcome to the new year. Looking forward to what 2021 will bring. Hopefully, it's a step forward and not steps back. Opening, introductions, additions to the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda anybody needs to propose?
I just need to add one thing. We need to have a conversation about net motion for the group.
You want to do that under district updates, maybe?
I'm happy to do that, yes.
Okay. Net motion. Any other additions to the agenda? Last call, any additions to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to introductions. I'll just go down the list here and I'll call your name and just introduce yourself, please. My name is Mike Russell. I'm the Public Works Director for Columbia County and Chair of the 911 Advisory Committee. Nathan?
Technical Manager for Columbia 911.
Chief Greenway.
Chief Brian Greenway, the Chief Police, St. Helens Police Department.
Nancy?
Nancy Edwards, CFO for Columbia 911.
Sean?
Columbia County Emergency Management Deputy Director.
Yeah, Sean Brown. Sorry, Sean Clark.
Wasn't sure which one.
Yeah, sorry. Lara?
Laura Marzilli, Operations Manager for Columbia 911.
Mike Sargent?
Mike Sargent, Ops Manager, Metro West Ambulance.
Gotta scroll here, hold on. Go ahead, Sean.
Sean Clark, Vice President of the Columbia 911 Communications District Board and Port of Columbia County. Not the Vice President of that.
Glad to have you here, Sean. Thanks. Scappoose Fire?
Jeff Pritchard, Fire Chief, Scappoose Fire.
Hey, Jeff. Mike, did we get you? Mike Fletcher?
Mike Fletcher, Executive Director, Columbia 911.
Chandra?
Chandra Egan, CAT Specialist at Columbia 911.
Eric?
Chief Mike Deputy for the Chief Operations Columbia River, and I have Fire Chief Medina here. Joe Medina, Fire Chief Columbia.
Okay, thank you. Malcolm?
Malcolm Hyatt, Oregon Department of Forestry.
Mary Jo?
Mary Jo Beck, Office Support Specialist, and the phone number you see is also from 911
Okay.
for the recording. So,
Awesome, thank you. I was going to clarify that. I think that's everybody. Did I miss anybody? Oh,
Joe.
Joe.
Joe Kaczynski, Fire Chief, Miss Birkenfeld.
Hi, Joe. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here today. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes for July 28th, 2020. I looked them over. I realize it's been since July. I didn't see anything glaring. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion we approve the minutes from July 2020.
Moved by Greenway. Any second?
Second by Eric, Mike.
Seconded by Eric. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, or how about we do this? Anybody not in favor, please say aye. Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you all. Annual appointment of committee members and alternates. Do we have some current vacancies, Mike?
So we have some changes, yes. We have 3 agencies here. So first is Scappoose Rural Fire District. The primary member is Jeff Pritchard, Chief, and alternate is Josh Marks. I believe he's the Deputy Chief. They were inducted into this Hall of Fame January 25th.
And just a clarification for Chief Marks, he's a division chief.
Thank you, Division. Next up is Columbia County's Emergency Management. The primary is Sean Brown, and currently they do not have an alternate. Third
Do
is
you have somebody in mind for an alternate? Sean, are you still with us? No, he must have dropped off. Okay.
okay.
Sean had noted to me that they are in the process of hiring or doing the hiring process for the director for emergency management. So he's going to hold the primary position at this time, and then once it's filled, that will change.
That makes sense. Okay. All right. Any other changes, Mike?
One other change is for Columbia River Fire and Rescue. Primary member will be Chief Medina, with the alternate being Chief Smythe.
Okay. So no well, yeah, we're good to go on membership.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Next is district updates, operations report. Laura?
Good morning. So, staffing wise, we have, we had 2 in training, but we had 1 in resignation. We only have 1 training. And we have an open recruitment right now that we started in December. And currently in the second phase. So we've been on hopefully the interviews beginning next month with the goal to hire from that list, but then also establish an eligibility list for future hires. We, so in September, we went live with a CAD-to-CAD interface with Metro West, which assists us with our calls for Vernonia. And we completed EMD card updates. I worked with Dr. Stasek on that. So those have all been approved. We've trained our staff, and all of our cards, which I think almost every single one of them was touched, have gone to AppCode to get those printed. And hopefully, if we get that done, then we'll implement those card changes. And the other thing we're working on is we have all staff training in March, so we're just developing the curriculum for that. But otherwise, that's everything I have.
Any questions for Laura? Hearing none. Budget planning. Who's taking that one?
Until Nancy.
Nobody wants that one.
It's always a fun time, right? Actually, we're in the early stages of development, project planning for the budget. We'll be working with the board on that as well, but we're, like I said, early stages. We're unique district, so we really don't get deep into the budget until probably closer to April and May.
I know for state highway funds, there's been a significant impact, like a 20% reduction in state highway gas tax receipts. As 911 side of things, have you guys seen an impact from COVID and the change in the way people are operating, that kind of thing?
So a little different regarding the 911 taxes, no. In fact, statewide wise, because there's so many people working remotely, so wireless devices have increased dramatically in the state of Oregon, and all the way across the country. And so each of those devices that can touch 911, we're receiving the 911 tax revenue from those devices. So The most recent report we received from Oregon Emergency Management was they were seeing a uptick in revenue. This afternoon we have our next meeting with OEM, and we'll get an update. But our guess is that projection is going to continue to go up.
Okay. I see a hand raised from Scappoose Fire.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fletcher, I'm curious to know, on the subject of revenues, what kind of impact are you facing from urban renewal and enterprise zones when we're talking about revenue for the 911 center? What kind of effect is that going to have now and in the long term, based on your guys' projections? Thank you.
Yeah, urban renewals, enterprise zones do impact us just like they do all the other taxing authorities. As to the percentage, I don't want to guess what it is. We're mindful of that. And so, my request out to other taxing authorities is that we need to be working together to manage those things. I understand the positives of them, but the pain for the rest of us who rely on those revenue streams, that's a minimum 30-year hit, and that's painful.
Any other questions regarding budget planning for the district? Is there any specific role that advisory committee has for you, Mike, in the budget process?
Well, the same ask that we make of our board, if you as the advisory committee to us have suggestions and recommendations, this is the time of year that we want to hear those things. And so we can at least put them down on our, Christmas shopping list of what we should be planning for. Yeah, now's the time.
Yeah, I think for me, it's continuing on the path of upgrading the radio system, and so that seems to be the priority. I think the advisory committee has supported that moving forward and that kind of thing. So I think for me, that's kind of the top of the list.
Agreed.
Any other budget comments? All right. We added net motions discussion to the agenda at this point. Did you want to leave that off, Mike?
Sure. So it kind of goes right in line with budget stuff. So I'm going to go backwards in time and tell you a story. So historically, Columbia 911, a part of our radio system was the ability to transmit data over the air. And so the technology that we've had in place up until a year ago was vehicle radio modems, VRMs. And a lot of you user agencies utilize these VRMs to connect your vehicles to CAD, again, utilizing a radio frequency subsystem of our radio system. The system, that VRM system, is incredibly old, 30 plus years of technology. And while there are probably truckloads of spare VRMs, the actual modems that go in vehicles, those are a dime a dozen. You can find those anywhere. But the primary brain of the system, which is called an RNC, which is the radio network controller, it's about the size of a kitchen refrigerator. That's the brain of the VRM systems. And those fail. And ours was failing repeatedly. You can't find those. If you can find them, they're all used, old, probably coming from some third world nation, literally. They're in jungles in Southeast Asia, South America, and but Motorola no longer makes them, no longer supports them, There are no spare parts. You have to go on eBay to find these things. And so we made a decision operationally a year ago. It is far better to plan an outage than to be surprised by an outage. And so we were instilling to all of our users to abandon the VRMs and move to wireless cellular provider air cards, and to go into the modern technology of NBCs with air cards. And we started those conversations, and last year, right around this time, we discontinued the VRM system. We discontinued the RNC and took it offline. And we moved to a middleware piece. And there's really are a couple options. We need a middle piece between sending data, secure information across the air. And the product that we chose was NetMotion. It's industry standard across the country, provides us security and encryption of these data signals packets going from 911 to the mobile clients and back and forth. We're also talking to MPIT, LEDs, all that stuff has to fly across this. So it's a secured middleware piece. That's the product we bought. We bought the hardware, we bought the software, but there's also a piece that goes to each vehicle. Each MDC has to have a license. So we took this to our board a year ago, and the board authorized for Columbia 911 to pay for the whole thing up front. But there are recurring annual licensing fees for the mobiles. And we are up for renewal. So what I'm asking as a director is seeking advice of the advisory board. We will be meeting with the board of directors this Thursday to discuss this as well. And the bottom line is my board needs to make a decision of where that demarc line is between Columbia 911 and the end user's responsibility. And so this topic of NetMotion is actually just a part of a much larger conversation that my board needs to make some definitive decisions on where that demarc starts and stops. So the first thing up for conversation is these licenses actually for the mobile devices that we don't own. They are owned and operated by the police departments, fire departments, EMS providers. And in order for them to talk to CAD, we need this NetMotion mobile license. They're about $115 each per year. We have a quantity of 150, and the bill that is due is $17,265. So that's what the board is going to discuss Thursday, but I'm seeking input and advice from advisory of what is in the best interest of the district. Where is that line between what we fund from the 911 district versus what do we pass off to the end users for their functionality?
Okay. With that, any discussion from those who would be using NetMotion, and what advice do you have for one?
Mr. Fletcher, I've got a couple questions for you. With the NetMotion server, what uses do we have for that? I know we had talked at some point in the past about AVLs and using other components to be able to utilize that server for automatic vehicle location. Is that something that would fall in line with this particular server? And if so, I think a subscription fee of $150 a year is not unreasonable.
Well, for you, Chief, I'll give you a bargain. It's $115 per year per device. So any communications between an MDC and the 911 center has to go through the NetMotion. And so whether that's data, whether that's data packets going, calls for service, AVL signal, it's going to pass through that device, that middleware. Moving forward, if we go to a 700, 800 megahertz radio system, we have the opportunity to change where we receive the AVL signal. Right now, we're getting it from your mobile devices, your NDCs, NDTs. But if we go to the 700-800 radio system, then we actually can grab that AVL signal from both the mobiles and the portables. So we could see where the engine company is, but we could also see where each firefighter is on the ground. And the same with the law enforcement. But we're not there yet, and we're going to be being realistic, at least 3 years away from the new radio system. So if, between now and then, everything's going to be passing through the NetMotion server.
So, follow-up question for you on that. If our radios have GPS capability built into it, is that something that the NetMotion server can latch on to?
No. So if you have AVL in your radios today, it's going to fly through RF. And that's what we would do if we move to the 7-800, is we're going to grab it over air. And that's going to...
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say that the NetMotion does take an AVL data if your MDT is sending it. So if you got the Surface, it might not be sending it unless you plug in an external GPS, and then it will start sending it through the NetMotion server. You've got the GTACs, the Panasonics, those all send their GPS data through the NetMotion server. So yes, it is taking in. The other option, though, in the future is the radio system, which then would go send the data through the radio network, and then that would get fed into CAD.
Thanks, Nathan.
Any other thoughts about how you get charged for that service, and anything you want to talk about regarding it?
How many people are using it right now? Just out of curiosity.
I looked the other day and it was around 80 plus something.
And is that mostly law enforcement, or is it fire as well?
I could tell you in a second. My guess is it's mostly law enforcement, because they have more robust setups than fire in most cases, but not much of a difference.
So Mike, I got a question. Is the license with the agency or with the district?
It's with the district. And what we would do is divvy up who has how many accounts. Nathan has that information, and then we would provide each agency a bill. One of the things that we've thought or talked about internally is, in the past, the previous CAD system, this was unique. The previous CAD system, you as a user had a contract with High-Tech, and you paid High-Tech a licensing fee for your connection through them. With the new CAD system, you don't get a bill from Central Square. We get the bill. We pay the maintenance fee for the CAD system. But this is one component that is new, and so that's why our board chose last year to pay all the upfront costs, and then to revisit it this year, whether they were going to maintain paying for the bill all the way through to the end user or split it out. And that's why we're seeking your input.
Yeah, so it tells me exactly who's using the license, when they last used it, so we'd be able to build out an exact list of who is using what. So, I mean, it's not going to be just a little split where you got 2 MBTs on it, yet you're paying way more than the other guy.
Any other input? Hearing none, is that good enough, Mike? Or?
I'm seeking input, and I heard Chief Pritchard, and that's helpful.
So yeah, if anybody else has an epiphany or wants to ask a question, I'm sure Mike will be available for anyone.
Thank you.
All right, equipment and technological briefing. Nathan.
So we've been doing a ton of work. Our entire network's pretty much changed. We've got new security systems, got new networking, new switches, new hardware, everything. So I know when I first started, at least once a month, something would go down that would cause huge inconveniences for everyone. Now, in the last probably 6-7 months, I haven't had any unexpected outages that weren't at least my fault on something. So we are greatly improving our redundancy and looking forward to projects in the future to make us even more resilient, which includes I've been looking at upgrading our admin system so that we could have Go boxes for phones that we could wheel over to, say, St. Helens. And so we're starting the process of doing that. It's always hard to think on the spot of what's changed that's interesting for you guys over the last how many months since we've been canceling them.
Well, we'll kind of cover them a little bit further in the facility update. So besides the networking stuff, we upgraded the entire lighting infrastructure of Columbia 911. So we removed all the incandescent lighting fixtures, both in the parking lot and within the structure. It's all LED. It's kind of like Star Trek. You walk down the hall and the lights come on as you walk down the hall. Then they go off as you pass by. It's fascinating, and it's apparently very cost effective. We're expecting a great decrease in our electrical bill and to get quite a hefty rebate from the community. The security system is in play currently. Contractors are working on new cameras for us. Access control is totally being changed out. So yeah, even though we've been dealing with COVID, there's lots of inside projects that we're completing too.
Yeah, when we open up, you guys should stop by and see just how different our building looks on the inside now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good work on that. That sounds positive. All right, director's report.
Yes, sir. So, several things. The radio system, the current radio system, there's not a whole lot to talk about other than Dixie Mountain. I think I let you know in July that the FAA gave us approval to move into the Dixie Mountain facility. This is a big win for us. It's a long time coming, 3+ years of working with the feds to get permission to lease space in that. What has happened since we've gotten our official approval from them is now we're working with Wolf Day Wireless to relocate our receive equipment, which is currently at the Bald Hill site. But it's a kabuki dance. You have to coordinate that. And then we need a new microwave link from there to the 911 center. So our microwave vendors, M&I, Microwave Networks Incorporated, they've given us path studies, and that's complete. We're working on the financial quote for that project. At the same time that we're looking at the Dixie Mountain site, we have an opportunity, since we're shooting a beam from our tower here to the Dixie Mountain site, just on the other side of the West Hills, looking from that side down, is the new WACA 911 center being built. We need a connection microwave from here to there because our CAD systems are all intertwined with each other. And we have very, very limited fiber routes in Columbia County. So we're looking at sending CAD over air from Columbia 911. This would be a backup or a redundant pathway. So we're working at what would that cost us. So that is the microwave system is a subsystem of the radio system. So we're looking at Dixie Mountain. Radio site improvements, we have a lot of work going on there. So at the Clatskanie site, we're working with the University of Oregon seismology department. They're placing a seismometer at that location. We spoke with them last week to get an update. Their work is on the early stages of construction. They've gone back and forth with the county and the property owner, which is Weyerhaeuser, of where to place the seismometer, but that's still ongoing and they're making forward progress. We went before the Columbia County land use hearing earlier this month. We were approved for our Meisner rebuild site. I'm working with the engineering firm there, and we're working on the construction plans. So we've got the approval. There's some paperwork that Malcolm, I'm waiting on that where ODF is. It's a minor detail. And then we're working with actually the engineering firm is confirming all the paperwork for the tower. It has to be certified and all that stuff. They're working on that, as well as the structure that will go on that site. We don't expect true construction turning dirt until late spring, early summer, but we're on the pathway. We talked about the microwave update. We've been working with M&I and Dave Wireless for an upgrade to our microwave pathway between Green Mountain and Clatskanie. Lots of things have impacted that project, including COVID. That was a stop work in the state of Washington. Once that came up, we had some shipment damage to equipment. That's all been replaced. Now, of course, we're in winter, so it's always a challenge doing construction on mountaintops. But that construction did start last Friday. We had an update meeting this morning. We're expecting, knock on wood, that we will complete construction and switch over to the new system tomorrow. So we're getting
I see a question from Joe, Mike.
Oh, yes, sir, Joe.
Mr. Fletcher, sorry to interrupt, but do you have any update on the potential 2 missed sites for towers?
So, for Cowlitz, Joe, you were asking about your
no, yeah, for the 2 sites out here in Miss Birkenfeld land.
Okay, yeah, getting to there.
Okay.
So tomorrow we're guesstimating we'll switch over starting around 10 a.m. Should be about 30 minutes. For all you folks that are in public safety and utilizing our radio system, you can expect that there may be some intermittent drop channels. They will be very brief. All they're doing is moving circuits from the old system to the new system. We expect to start around 10 a.m. and be done by 10:30, but it'll be very brief intermission. You might hear some cracklings, popping and snapping, and or even some dead air briefly while they make those circuits switches. I'll put out an email today following this meeting with this information for you. Where's this going to get us? Historically, we had radio problems, significant radio problems, even outages during certain times of the year. Fog, last summer with the smoke from the wildfires, snow, even heat in the summer, because how RF can transport across that river impacts the RF signals. And what this correction is doing is we're diversifying the path, so we actually have two dishes, upper and the lower, and the system constantly tries to find the best pathway. So we're still going to have problems. We're going to have intermittent, crappy sounding, but it should never be dead or gone. So there will be a vast improvement in reliability for that system. For the new radio system that we're working on, a couple things that are important that get you up to date. Emergency management. So Columbia County, every county has to have a communications plan on the file, on the books. And emergency management has been working on developing a updated communications plan for Columbia County. And we discovered recently that we might have duplicate service going on here, our missions. So I met last week with emergency management, Sean and his team, and we're going to work together to develop that communications plan, the written plan. And it incorporates like what I have everybody on this call can relate to. So all those interviews I did with each of you about the new radio system, what's your hopes, dreams, desires, expectations, those type of things are included in what Sean needs. We are close to getting to a definitive answer for my board to make a decision, and that includes Sean's needs, public works, school districts, and then that goes into, Joe, your question about sites. We know what we have today, we know where our sites are, and we're going to have a consultant that will be working with us that's separate from the vendors who have provided us their plan for us, or at least their recommendation of what we should do. We're getting a third party to give us an independent, non-biased review of our current system, the three options that we have on the books today, Codan, Motorola, and Tate, and we have verbal agreements with folks like Miss Birkenfeld, school districts, fire districts, to place transmitter sites on their property. So all that's going to go into these guys, and they're going to come back with us, with what they believe is in our best interest, independent of vendors. So that's a work in progress, and we're getting pretty close to pulling the trigger on that. Any questions so far?
I have a question about that, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Would that consultant carry over to the upgrade project and be our representative, yeah, okay.
Yep. So actually we're going to develop, initially I thought it would be 2 phases, but we're going to do a third phase because of the work that Sean needs. So first is the evaluation of what we have and where we should go. Phase 2 is going to be working with emergency management and developing the comms plan. And then phase 3 is actual construction, being our representative, being our project manager for us, because nobody inside this building has the bandwidth on day-to-day plus a multi-million-dollar project. So that will be phase 3 of that group's task. So
I think that's a great idea, and yeah, good job.
Other things from our perspective is COVID. We're still dealing with COVID. We've been very fortunate while we've had folks within this facility become positive. We've weathered those storms, and yes, it does have an impact on us with staffing because we're a very small shop and we just can't call Kelly Services for, call in someone to answer phones for us. So our overtime is up, but we can see light at the end of the tunnel, at least we hope it is. It's interesting, the COVID vaccine, we knew it was coming. Conversations about whether we could mandate, whether we should mandate, but we made it all voluntarily. If you wanted it, let us know, and we will arrange for you to get vaccinated. Of our staff, just about 72% of staff wanted to be vaccinated, so that's great. Everybody, all of those folks, but one, have received their first series of vaccines, and working with the EMS vaccine team through Jeff's organization, we're looking forward to our second vaccines. Facility update, we talked a little bit about Nathan's stuff doing with the networking. That is a significant upgrade for this facility. We each had a single IT port in our offices, and now we all have 6. So the capacity that we can operate in the modern world is here. That's great. We talked about the security system. We also did paint. The whole interior of this facility has been repainted, and we have brand new flooring for the first time since the facility was built. So looks great. I'm just checking my notes, making sure I'm not missing anything. Working with, again, public health about the ASA. This district is the author of the draft document, and it has been provided. The first draft has been given to the county, and it's been distributed to the user agencies. We're still needing a couple of things. So the ASA boundaries, we still need help from Scappoose Fire regarding a finalized boundary with Multnomah County. Also with Scappoose, we need the agreed upon boundaries and whatever it is, agreements with Soviet Island Fire and Clatskanie Fire. We still need your boundary with Miss Birkenfeld's area. So I'm reminding you today, we're going to talk about it with the board on Thursday, give them an update. Cindy's looking for your assistance. And I think, Mr. Russell, that is everything from the district's update.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions for the director?
Yes, sir, Mr. Fletcher. You made a comment about needing some information from Scappoose with regard to Sylvie's Island.
Yep.
What specifically were you looking for?
I believe there's boundary questions, or at least Cindy from the ASA boundaries mapped. You have, I don't know, duties, responsibilities, or agreements with Soviet Island Fire?
No. I'll talk to you offline. Okay. That's what I needed. Thank you.
Any other questions for the director? Last call. Any questions for the director? Hearing none, we'll move on to roundtable. Info share, time to just go around the room, the virtual room here, and any communication between agencies or coordination or 911 related issues. Now's the time to bring them up. So I'll just go down again, I'll go down the participant list, and if you have nothing, just say pass. Nathan?
Pass.
Mike? Fletcher?
I need oxygen.
Chief Greenway?
Real quick, just to kind of dovetail into what Mike said, just want to publicly acknowledge and thank Chief Pritchard Chief Smythe. Welcome Chief Medina for all their help on this COVID.
You taking off then? Okay.
So,
Good luck, Randall. Feel better.
I could tell you that I jokingly told Jeff Pritchard that I'm thankful that the FD guys had to handle the vaccination coordination because I know it was not easy. But on behalf of all public safety employees, thank you for your professionalism and your diligence in getting us vaccinated. I'm looking forward to Monday to get the rest of our teams vaccinated and move past this pandemic. But just wanted to publicly acknowledge them and thank them for their continued hard work every day in this community. So that's all I got. Thank you, Mike.
All right, Sean Brown.
Pass.
Chandra Egan.
Pass.
Eric Smythe.
So it's Chief Medina. I just wanted to thank Chief Greenway and I tell you, coming from a much different area, the coalition that was put here for the COVID vaccine was impressive. I gotta take my hat off to Nick and the class. The coalition that came through was very impressive, and I wanted to thank Chief Greenway for acknowledging that, and I appreciate that greatly.
Joe.
Pass.
Lara.
Pass.
Malcolm.
So I don't know how this fits into your plans, Mike, but we are also doing a microwave project, and the Columbia City office has all of its microwave equipment installed. Now we're waiting to install the other end of it up on Green Mountain. At the same time, at our Forest Grove office, we're erecting a 30-foot tower that will enable that office to also be connected to a microwave site south of Forest Grove, and then that will, through an ODOT microwave backbone, connect both of our offices. The intent eventually is that all ODF offices from Columbia River to the California border on the west side of the Cascades will be connected. That infrastructure is complete from just south of Philomath to the California border right now, but we've still got some holes in the Philomath-Salem area and up here in Northwest. So it's probably a 5 to 10 year project to get all those holes fixed, but I don't know if that adds any redundancy to you guys or not. Just want to make you aware of it. And the paperwork that you sent to me, I sent it to our Salem staff the very day you sent it to me. My district forester is ready to sign it as soon as I can get permission for us to sign it. So
Very good.
I'll get that soon.
Appreciate that.
Mary Jo.
Pass.
Mike Sargent.
Pass.
Scappoose Fire.
Pass.
John Clark.
Pass.
And Steve Sheriff. Do you have anything?
There we go. Joe and I will get with Cindy. I don't know if Cindy's working today, but we will get together on those boundaries, whatever those issues are. I just sent a text to Joe, and he might be available later on, late afternoon, so maybe we'll get in contact with Cindy over the boundaries. Other than that, everything sounds good. Mike Russell, if you could hang on and have a conversation after this. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Chief Medina, I just wanted to welcome you and just wanted you to be aware this is one of the forums we have in this area for coordination. I come here from Lane County, Eugene area, and I have never seen, which is a big area, I have never seen the close coordination, communication between agencies, public service agencies that I have here in Columbia County. So I just encourage you, Columbia 911, Traffic Safety Commission, Roads Advisory Committee, other mutual efforts going on. There's a lot of discussions going on the LEPC, the local Emergency Preparedness Commission. Just a lot of. We're going to see a lot of each other in these meetings. There's a lot of crossover. So anyway, just encourage you to participate as much as you can and get plugged in. We welcome you.
Thank you once again. I appreciate it.
Okay, any announcements? One more call. Any announcements for the group? All right, I think that's a record meeting. So let's go ahead and adjourn. Thank you all. Our next meeting will be in April, on April 27th. And between now and then, myself or Mike Fletcher are available to you. So, yeah, everybody have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.